chatting on the chatting in the chat room, which is what you do in chat rooms. We got a whole mob in the chat room tonight. We've got Boo Boo is back with us, Shaky Rider, Cafe Lonigan, or whatever the hell that is, Cafe something. Anyway, Little John's with us, and Fat Bob. And you know what? The consensus of opinion in the chat room is that big tires suck.
You know, Trash. I don't want to step on you here, but this is Warren again coming in, and the deal really is. You know, you put it very succinctly. You know, we were trying to ride those big dogs,
yep.
And they weren't as comfortable as they could have been. You know, they weren't as good as riding on one of our regular chops. You know, so I mean, I understand sacrificing for looks and that sort of a thing, but let's face it, man. I mean, it wasn't fun to ride those things.
No, it wasn't.
Tires are too damn big.
Right, and I don't know if it's something you could adjust to or not. I'm sure you could. I mean, you know, let's face it, the front end on Captain America isn't exactly what you would call nifty. You know, and you got to be on top of your game, and you got to plan everything at least a quarter of a mile ahead. And anything you got to do quick to avoid anything, it's difficult at best. So I understand impracticality to achieve a certain look, but go ahead.
But you know as well as I do now. We've got these other bikes. We got on my Softail and on your Softail.
Uh-huh.
We've put these rake adjusted front ends on them. We got the Seeger Cycle front end and the AME
exactly
bolt on chopper kits. Those achieve the same amount of look, you know, in terms of how far they are out, but they don't give you that kind of the kind of problems that Captain America does.
Right, they're a lot easier to ride. They do handle a lot better, and it's let's face it, you know, it's engineering that's come that far. Captain America's front end is a design that went back to 1969, so you know it's just axe the frame, stretch the neck out, and let's have at it. You know, and that looks like enough. No, give it a little more. You know, stick a broomstick down through there. So. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Beat on it with a hammer. You know, that'll fix it. You know,
right?
Literally, in one of the magazines, one of the old magazines we had, it did say at one point, you know, look at this to see if it's straight, and if it's not straight, hit it with a sledge.
That's right. Beat it with a hammer. That's right. And that was, in a lot of ways, the way we did things. So, you know, I've got friends. Little John can attest to that. So can Pee Wee. You know, we've seen it done a lot. And then there's idiots that welded them back up without putting a gusset on the side and wonder why it broke, and you had to hold it together with a set of battery cables to get you to a welding shop. Okay, speaking of welding shops and battery cables, we've got a segment for you in our mystical motorcycle mystery that is absolutely going to make you wet your pants. This is like nothing you've ever seen, and I want you to pay attention because you're going to absolutely love this. Roll tape, guys.
With this key, you can start the ignition to a bike that is of other dimensions. Dimensions of sight, dimensions of sound, and the use of creative minds. You are riding on roads of both shadow and substance, of metal and ideas, guiding you through this badass journey. You are about to enter the mad, mysterious world of motorcycle secrets.
All right, now here what we have, just in case the V8 is not big enough for you, we have the Viper. This is what you call a serious midlife crisis mobile.
If you people think you got some balls, I want you to get on this thing and ride it. This is a V12 Viper. Look at this machine. It's got a fan on the front that'll blow the smoke out of a 50-story high-rise. Not only that, look at the seat on this thing. All right, thank God it does have suspension in the rear, but look what's in front of that left rear shock. That's exactly what it looks like, folks. That is a nitrous canister. You're already banging a V12 Viper engine in this motorcycle. All right, but in front of that left rear shock is the nitrous oxide. So stand by. When you let that go, you better be holding on, because this will jump right up from underneath you, and it's going to take your balls with you when it goes. But beyond that, look at the paint and look at the engineering on this motorcycle. Somebody did this thing really right. There's somebody that's a wizard with a torch welder, a painter, metal fabricators, the whole deal, put this motorcycle together and made that something really special. That is a V12 Dodge Viper. What do you think of that? If the V8, if the Boss Hog ain't enough for you, try this one. You know, my friend Little John had one of them 500 cubic inch Boss Hog or some damn thing. And guess what? If he sees this, he's going to have one. If you think I'm kidding,
there, this is Warren.
Yeah,
you got me. Hey, let me put in my 2 cents on this.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, when I first saw the Boss Hoss come out, those Boss bikes come out with the V8 in them, I was like, now this is insane. And then the next thing I see is the Boss Hoss come out with a blower on top of it, and I say that's absolutely nuts. Then you got the Boss Hoss with a blower and nitrous. Now you got a V12 Viper engine on a bike.
What's next?
My God, who's building this thing?
What's next, Warren?
Who's putting it together? What is this company that's building this, or is this a totally one-off custom?
Well, this is a one-off so far. We're gonna do a little more research and find out what the story is, who built it. We want to get some credits on it. This was kind of a raw footage thing tonight that we wanted to put the motorcycle before the motorcycling public, if you will, and get some feedback on it. We're going to do more research and see what we can come up with on it. What are they running for tires? What are they running for a transmission? That's what I want to know. And get some more of the particulars on it. But I wanted to get it in front of you, get a look at it, see how pretty it is, because it really is pretty. The paint was gorgeous.
Well, it's a pretty bike, but here's what I want to see, and I want to see it being ridden. I want to see it start. I want to see it run. I want to see a guy go through the gears. I want to see all the stuff that has to happen to say this is really a bike. This isn't some kind of mocked up.
All right. Well, let me tell you this.
Sculpture,
You're the PR guy. You're the guy that schmoozes everybody. You get a hold of them. Tell them you got a guy who wants to ride this thing. You bring the cameras out. I'll ride it.
You got it, man. I'll find out some more. Tell me where you got this tape and whatever. We'll figure that out. We'll try to get him on next week. Try to get some info on this thing because I want to hear this run. I want to see somebody ride this thing. I want to see somebody ride this thing and hit that nitrous bottle and see what the hell happens. Because I think we're talking about that thing's got to be airborne, man. I mean, I'm talking airborne.
I'm in. Talk about your submarine, Captain. Hey, man, I could catch them all with this baby. What do you think?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's pretty. It's nicely done. That's the nice thing, too. It's not something that was cobbled up, and thrown together. And it was well taken care of. And speaking of which, the guys out there put the big inch motors together. They build the big inch choppers with the V twins. And I want to tell you something first about that. When you put your starter together, okay, if you've got a starter that's got some miles on it, take a little time, put a little money into it. Not much. It won't cost you $100. And rebuild that starter. Put a new starter clutch in it. Rebuild the solenoid parts. Either clean them up and put them back in or get new ones. Doesn't matter. Because it's going to pay off in the end. Because if you put a big inch motor and you're trying to start it with that stock starter, they do kick back. Now, there's the old days of the Sportster knee. Where guys had kickbacks on them. Guys have been thrown up in the air on these damn things on big inch motors, high compression motors. But if you do that to a starter, it doesn't hurt your knee, but it hurts the starter. And that's where all of that damage is absorbed down there in the area of the starter clutch and the drive. So just wanted to say that. We've got Equipment Shed segment coming up pretty soon on a starter rebuild, where I'm going to go through the starter with you, going to show you how it works, what makes it go, as they say. And we're going to rebuild it and make it a new starter again for just a little bit of money. And we're going to save a whole lot of money from buying a new starter and have a new solenoid and new clutches in it, and it's going to be just like brand new. What do you think, Warren?
Well, that's great, and I think it's solid.